பேக்குள்ள கிடக்கும் அங்க இருக்கு வெளியே. Hello everyone, welcome to Sriram IAS Unacademy platform. So today we are getting connected for ethics class on case studies part. Okay, so yes, so how we are going to do this? um, Actually, like last class we ended up with a question. I hope you do remember, and I gave that as a homework also, so to work from your side, right? So I don't know like how many of you would have really tried it, and even if you have not tried, we'll solve here, as this case was completely related to suicides, as they were describing various problems associated with suicides as the cases has been increasing, and mainly like various people who are involved into this particular social issue, especially starting from the school students to youth. As you should know this. So how will you solve this question? And first we'll see the question with this case. Suggest some innovative measures to reduce the suicide rate by addressing the above said problems which prompts the suicide rate. Okay, so this was the question. That means you have to give measures to stop the suicides or prevent the suicides with respect to every concerned, addressing concerned groups who are involved into this suicide. Okay, so first let me take the facts, and then it will be easy for you to solve. So already we have said how you have to the case study, you have to look into facts in the case study, right? So first here it is given that students suicide among the students has increased. Okay, and then mainly due to failure in examination. Also you have to write the factual data. Suicides is keep on increasing, and suicide among students is increasing. The reason is failure. Put on hyphen, write failure in examination. Then suicide among youth is also notable. No, in the question you can see this also, and put on hyphen and write due to unemployment and drug abuse. They have given this as an issue. Then third, you can see that suicide rates among the salaried persons and daily wage earner has been increasing because of pandemic. Okay, it is a emergency. During emergency situations, economic hardships results, and because of this also many people who are daily wage earners are suffering, and they also commit suicide. Okay, because of loss of job or lack of pay, and these might be some of the reasons. And even copycat suicides are keep on increasing. Okay, one people committing suicide, others see that, and then they also try to commit the suicide in the same pattern. And next, another notable fact is females who are committing suicide because this is specifically related to dowry related issues or marriage related problems. So this includes social issues like gender inequality, okay, and other dowry practices which continues to make the marriage stressful to Indian women. Even death have been reported from high profile public servants. Okay, so the public servants are also committing suicide. So are committing due to depression. Put an hyphen and write that. So this is what the question has discussed, right? So now we have to address each and every section in order to complete this answer for the question, complete the answer for the question. So how will you start this question? Then you can just write, suicide is not only physical harm committed to a person committing a physical harm to himself, but it is a resultant of mental trauma. Okay, so mainly the depression, fear, anxiety, all this leads to the suicide. Suicide is a resultant of uncontrollable emotional hardships, we can say like that, mainly because of the rising emotions. We are unable to manage the emotion, unable to control those emotions, and because of this the concerned individual doesn't know what to do, okay, how to move forward or how to progress forward, and they feel themselves isolated, and they end up their life in the form of suicide. So that's why we can give this as an introduction, and also we can say that it's a preventable issue. And mainly if you see nowadays the suicide rate is keep on increasing. It's increasing in an alarming rate. So that's it's always a great concern of the state to control this suicide. So how we are going to do it? First, generally, when how to tackle the suicide problem? How we can tackle a suicide problem? General points first you have to give. Then you can give specific points related to the concerned issues. Okay. So generally, we can come out with certain important keywords. See, whenever you are representing an answer in ethics, you have to be very strong in your keywords, and these keywords you're taking from the second unit, especially the attitude unit. You have to connect with your case study when measures are asked to you. So you can say that the how you are generally tackling a suicide problem. Don't focus on the particular group like females or youth, anything that will bring it later. But when we are generally saying that if we want to prevent the suicide, the first thing which we have to do is uh, you know uh, desirable bringing a desirable sources, bringing a credible sources, and make them to interact with people or deliver a message to the people. Okay, so generally they will make a short videos, a short clip, or social awareness messages will be generated by these people. Even desirable likable sources, we can say. Desirable sources on the hand can be anyone who belongs to a film field or cricketers, anything. Okay, so those who are having a charismatic effect on the society, they can be used as a desirable sources or likable sources, I can say. So in this way, you are trying to influence the people, influence the victims, the one who has already committed and one is yet to decide in the future. Okay, so one who is undergoing a depression phase. So when they are trying to watch this, and when they feel that okay, the suicide is not the only solution for my problem, are credible sources. It should be a credible sources like a doctor making a small documentary with the help of a doctor, and the doctors explaining that what and all the problems a victim will face if he fails in his suicide attempt. You succeed and you die, that's secondary. And even dying, what and all the harm you will be and what and all the pain you will feel when you are undergoing this death process by committing suicide. That way a doctor can explain, can make a small documentary, and then you can release it, so that when a patient, when a victim is about watching this, even though he has that idea of to commit suicide, he may change his opinion. Okay, fine, I have to suffer a lot if I'm doing this. Instead, I do try to cope up with my life, not ending in this manner. If my attempts get failed and I get bedridden, then I have to undergo these traumatical phases in my life. Okay, so that instead of that, I just stick to live, right? So this way they can change their attitude. And secondary thing which we can suggest is friendly police meet, which I have mentioned here. That how will you do it? Friendly police meet means that police, they are the one who are keep watching about the society. So generally, people have a kind of impact when a police personnel is very friendly in nature, when he is delivering a message to the community in a very friendly manner. Okay, so when these people try to give a message in the friendly, sociable manner, so then what happens? They try to accept it, as a society tries to accept it. On the other hand, you can also make this police meet with the journalist, like the media peoples. Okay, especially the media peoples, so that what happened, can bring in a responsible media coverage. We can bring now, instead of doing a cover story. What happens in India nowadays, when a person is committing suicide, they are trying to make a cover story about it, and release it as if a warrior, unsung hero or heroine who has committed a suicide. The document and all is released in such a manner. So instead of doing that, what you can do, you can just try to deliver certain messages, like hope messages instead of simply covering that problem or issue or shooting the suicide episodes. You can just deliver some hope messages with certain helpline numbers also. Okay, helpline numbers like Astra is there, some NGOs which are there. So even you can involve not only the police but also, as we said, the medias as well as the NGOs in doing this. Okay, so they all can join together. They can do collaborative policy in order to stop this kind of menace in the coming future. And awareness campaign is a must, because public has to be educated, right? So they have to be educated that what and all the phases they have to go through in their life, how they can overcome that problems, and without ending up in the cowardly action of suicide. So you have to educate the public through a stage plays, street plays, even like certain education systems has to be altered in such a way that instead of only developing the intelligence of the children's and the youth, you can also make them face the realities in life. Okay, so in such a way certain skills has to be developed, like soft skills, which make them more flexible in character. Okay, whenever facing some adversities in their life, how they have to be flexible and adaptable to that situation. So this is very important, the awareness campaign, right? Then even some program has been started in the name of QPR. The QPR means like questioning, persuading, and referring. That it's something called as gatekeeper training we give. So all those stakeholders, the parents of that particular person who's undergoing depression or anxieties or something, friends, okay, other peer groups, even police officials, okay, all the primary care center peoples, all can be taken to this program, and this is called as gateway training. So they what they do, they 1 to 2 hours they give certain inputs to those people. They train them how to identify the signs. When you are seeing some person and they are undergoing anxiety or depression, not everyone can identify it. Okay, not everyone can observe that, okay, he is not well or she is not well. So here in this training they teach mainly the signs to pick up when somebody is not well mentally or undergoing some mental depressions. You can easily find them through for that give training. And apart from that, how to report, how to proceed further. Like if you found that they are not proper, they are not acting proper in a proper way, how to solve this issue, how to talk to them, how to make them speak. Initially that's the main problem, they feel isolated. So when you make them speak, they can come out the problems which they are facing, so that will be easy to solve. Otherwise, if they are not ready to open up, then you have to refer these people to concern the particular physicians. Okay, this way question, persuade, refer program has been made mainly to tackle this suicide issue. Again, the primary care physician training can be given. Okay, primary care physician training is must, because when people who are committing suicide are taken to hospitals, the physician doesn't know how to tackle. The primary care centers physicians are there, they don't know how to handle this by people. Mainly they are affected because of sensitivity, emotional distress only, and they don't know how to manage or handle these people. They only give treatment for the physical problems which they face due because committed a suicide, but there is no solution for a mental training, right, or mental problems. So in this way they have to be trained in a wholesome manner in order to take care of those victims who has already committed suicide. Then follow up is very must, like how in the drug abuse cases we used to say, once when a person is put in the de-addiction centers, you have to follow up that person, right, after de-addiction, after coming from de-addiction center also, you cannot fully trust them, because we doesn't know whether they have accepted this or not. So maybe anytime they may again fall into the trap. So in such a way that follow up is very much necessary, as in the case of that, in case of suicide also it is necessary. because those people who have committed suicide, it doesn't matter, they will not commit again. Maybe if they are not relieved of their problem, if they are relieved of the stress which they face in their life, they cannot continue to live, right? So follow up is very much essential. So now come to the question. Now we'll address each and every section was asked in the question. Okay, see this. They asked, they were giving information that so for like the students committing suicide mainly because of the failure in examination. So in that, if that's the case, what can be done in the schools? Because uh, child usually who is very playful, who doesn't know that very serious things to take up in life, is now trying to commit suicide. Even sixth standard boys, sixth standard children, or seventh standard, eighth standard, even 10th, 11th, after marks are out, they are committing because of fear. Okay, so how can you tackle this? Mainly, this can be stopped or prevented with the help of the education change in education programs, right? So not only IQ should be trained in schools or colleges, but you also should train the other life quotients, soft skills like the emotional quotient, adversity quotient, especially these two has to be trained. Emotional quotient means how well the person is able to identify his own emotions and manage and control them. That is emotional quotient. So you have to train the particular person or individual in the way to identify and cope up with this or manage his emotions, balance his emotions. Then adversity is the way that he performs in the stressful situation also. Whenever he is facing some stresses, how he has to handle that particular situation. So in this way, we are giving certain programs. Even sustainable education in schooling can be given. Sustainable education is another important point which you can mention. Sustainable education in schooling, because students are only trained in the subjects and syllabus. So what really happens after they complete their school? Even they go to bank, they don't even know how to fill a form, bank challan, they doesn't know how to fill it. It's a simple example which I'm giving. The same way, a child doesn't know, like when it steps out of the home, still that he will go to school and come back to house, school, house, learn, go to school, come back, learn. So this is what the process which is going on. Now it is not able to face the society, it's not able to tackle the problems which he is facing in the society. When he goes out of the school or when he goes out of the college, he has to face different people, different personalities will come in their life, so they don't know how to manage those relationships. That's a major problem. So sustainable education and schooling is a must, which we are also talking, like even UN has suggested this, and most of the schools are trying to adapt to that particular sustainable education. Same way, community development programs can be conducted, so that community lives. So that what happens, like students will be engaged with other students, other childrens in the schools. In that way, you can learn more about others. You can learn to be more empathetic in nature, more tolerable in nature. Okay, you can get aspired by others, inspiration from others. So in such a way that you get your world gets widened, and at the same time, so because mainly suicides is the main reason for isolation. So when a world gets widened, you mostly accept you as yourself, right? So in that case, this can be reduced a bit. Then come to the, so these are some of the answers which you can give for the student related suicides. Okay, then even we can also you can also add value education in that. Okay, value education, values can be taught to students, like the manner or etiquette in which they have to behave in the society. So what and all is acceptable, what and all is not acceptable, how a child has to be with the family members, with the society. In this way, the education can be given and child can be trained. So it will not develop this type of covert habits, right? Then come to the next issue. We are talking about youth, the unemployment and the drug abuse. So when you are addressing unemployment, you have to say that some employment generation scheme can be brought. Okay, so instead of making say the people sitting idle, you can make them utilize this employment generation schemes. The alternate way he can employ himself, then he can keep on search jobs which matches his profile. But initially he has to take some job so that he will not sit idle and he will not have any negative thoughts in his. Okay, so that may be one suggestion we can give. Second thing is that you can also say some skill development. You can also get them involved in certain skill development program so that the skills can be improved further and further, and that skill set which matches a particular job can be taken by this youth. So skill development program, green skill development program, all these are some ways that the youth can be employed in a faster pace, as well as self employment. This can be encouraged. Most of all, you can give some suggestions, some awareness to the youth, that where they can avail the benefit, or which loan will help them to get them self-employed, how they can avail the benefit of that. Okay, in this way some awareness can be generated. What are the ways he can make himself self-employed, so that he can take some other route for self-employment, unless he were simply sitting idle without employment. He can do for some small business in order to free out his mind also. And drug abuses, this is a big story. Already we made a case study based on drug abuse. So you all know what and all the steps you have to take related to drug abuse. You can mention few. When supply chain has to be properly tackled, has to be caught, trapped, and it has to be ended. Because that is the major reason that most people falls into this trap. Because the drugs are supplied to the youth and even childrens nowadays. They were made as a carrier next. They will be made as a supplier. Okay, so in this way the drugs are spread completely throughout the society. So drug abuse to be stopped, how to you have to make them take them to the addiction centers, and then follow-ups has to be search completely. And especially the laws has to be done and made stricter in cases of drug abuses. Okay, this way you have to address. And what happened to the pandemic induced economic hardships? Then you can say that this has to be these types of suicides is not expected every time, but when an emergency is appearing, there is an emergency, when economic emergency happens in the country, you will not able to employ everyone, but the state takes care of the people or the downtrodden. So in this case you have to apart from giving economic benefits to the people, you have to give emotional support also. You have to create certain spread certain messages, certain programs to generate awareness among the people, that this way it's not going to end in this way. So the good times are yet to come. So we have to fight together as brothers and sisters in order to tackle this particular emergency situation in the country. In this way certain messages has to be delivered, and this makes them stronger, grow stronger, even though they are in the economically low, even though they are economically low, right? So seeing a lot of then copycat suicides, for this main reason is media coverage. So impartiality, media has to play with the principles of impartiality and fair play. They should not simply manipulate this stories and project it. Over projection should not be there in order to make or in order to score, be a leader in the scoreboard. They cannot manipulate things in such a way so that what it may happen, it may induce a negative thought to other people also. They may copy the same pattern, instead of simply revealing the pattern in the suicides, like in the episode 1 to 8, we are revealing that how the story has happened. Instead of covering it in the exclusive manner, you have to be doing a very proper responsible coverages about these suicides and all. And also hiding certain parts is very much essential, and make them socially responsible for the society. Okay, so then you can come to the next problem, females, that is dowry related issues and all. We have said no, gender inequality. So this, for this, one and only solution is attitude change only, that is behavioral change programs has to be introduced. Behavioral change programs means what type of behavioral change programs? Like you can take Saksham. Okay, Saksham is a adolescent boys program. Okay, Saksham. So introduced around 2013, mainly to change the attitude of the adolescent boys towards the society, towards the other gender. Okay, so the way even their parents might have not treated equally the girl child and the male child, but now this program tries to educate them that how they have to behave in the society, what are desirable behaviors, how they have to treat the other sex, that especially the women, that is the female, right? And this way education will be, or awareness will be generated among them. They will be trained in such a way that they have to be more sensitive, more thoughtful when they are trying to speak or trying to act in front of the other gender. So this way Saksham is helping. So this is one behavior change program. Same way we can bring in different behavior change programs so that the society can, slowly we can bring a change in attitude in the society, right? So in the future generation, if the future generations are tackled, then the forthcoming, the future India will be better India, right? So in that way you have tried this. High profile public servants death. For this, how you are going to address? This is the last one which we are going to address. So when you are addressing the high profile public servants, mainly stress management, trainings, periodic trainings has to be given to them. So you have to make them take periodic trainings, especially training them to tackle the stressful situations, how they have to face the stresses and depressions in their life. Because when you are holding a public post, definitely you will face pressure from various angles. From the superiors, immediate superiors, you will get a pressure. Then from outside agencies, even an individual also will give you pressure. Okay, so this way political pressure will be there. So pressures from various sides, from businessmen, threats from gundas. When you're doing a duty, you will face a lot of problems. So how will you tackle all these things? You have to have a strong mind. Then only you can tackle the problems which are given by this people. Even you should be very creative and thoughtful when you're trying to make a choice. So in that way, avoid some unnecessary problems. At the same time, you can also do your duty for what you are put up. You can do that. So how this has to be done? Only through periodic trainings, which can be done, cyclic trainings we say, along with the meeting for the public servants. Completely all the public servants can be assembled every year. They can be assembled in a place so that the best practices which is going on among the public servants can be shared with among one another, so that if anybody is finding some useful information, they can use it. And the pressure can, mainly because of certain issues only they are facing the pressure, so they can easily find it from others and they can utilize it in the duty. In such a way they can be free from their stresses and pressure. At the same time, there should be reform in the completely the administration should be reformed. Okay, the main reason is that as you can see that the stress is also because of the problems caused by the immediate superiors also. Even though the person who is facing the pressure is completely honest and is not able to perform any illegal activity, there are certain networks which are framed in the public office itself, where every people who are taking bribes are involving in corruption join together, and they try to make the person who is honest suffer. So this has to be only changed when you try to reform completely the department. So this way you can give certain points for this high profile public servants deaths or suicides. Okay, so with this we can end this case study. So it's a very simple case study, and the last session itself we have given the question, so we have solved this question also. Now come to the next question for case study. And you can also see this Sriram's is conducting the GS batches. So you can join this using the code Sriram's, right? Now, so now let us read the next question. See this. It is unfortunate that India is becoming a hub of clinical trials for pharmaceutical companies, a majority of them being transnational corporations Suresh was a vice president of sales at Pharmaceutical Products, a multinational company. Recently, he began to suspect that Pat was conspiring with doctors to conduct clinical trials. Pharmaceutical companies routinely provide doctors with free samples of the latest drugs. However, Suresh believed that Pat Pharmaceuticals is providing some developing drugs along with free samples to be checked on patients. He discussed the issue with one of his friends who is also a pharmaceutical scientist and checked the samples along and found it consists of unapproved drugs which is in the developing stage. So he started collecting further information and come to know that the doctors are paid handsomely for their cooperation. Further, he noted that poor and uneducated people from the countryside are coerced into becoming guinea pigs for a paltry sum of money, and in the process, they are subjected to adverse consequences without being compensated for them. Even some of the patients doesn't know that they are undergoing clinical trials at all, as they are lured by free medicines and checkups, and the age of their victim and the age of the victims ranged from 2-day-old infant to an 80-year-old. All the victims faced severe medical complications after taking the drugs and were left unattended. So now questions are there. What Suresh should do and why? Then do you believe that employees of a company have an ethical obligation to first attempt to report wrongdoing to members of the company itself, or should they go straight to the authorities when they suspect illegal activity? What advantages and disadvantages of both actions? Do you believe whistleblowing is good for organizations and its members? Can you discuss about the lacuna in whistleblower protection in India? So these are some of the questions. Now, what is the case about? Let us again come back to the case, pick up certain facts from the case. Then we can frame answers, how you have to answer this particular question. As this case itself is the core of the case. The core, that means the main concern related to this case. The main theme of the case is related to illegal clinical trial. If you ask a question, is clinical trial allowed? Yes, clinical trial is allowed, but that should be followed that should be a proper process to be followed in order to undergo or conduct a clinical trial. But here in this case study, what is described is about a illegal clinical trial which nobody knows. Okay, and without the knowledge of the patient itself, this clinical trial is conducted. Very recently, there were a lot of news related to illegal clinical trials in India and death of many patients reported from various rural areas, remote areas. Lot of news has appeared then and there, or severe complications, facing severe complications in their life, right? So this way we come across many news. So this case I have touched with the clinical trial only. But the real thing about this case, the real idea which is related to the question which they are framing for this case is related to whistleblowing. Okay, so that also we have read. Now we will again come to the factual facts from this questions. As you can see that Suresh is vice president of sales at the Pat Pharma. It's a multinational MNC company. Okay, so recently this person started suspecting that something is wrong when he's trying to, because they are the sales rep, they will be meeting the doctors, no, wherever they will take the medicines, they will deliver the free samples, they will go and communicate on behalf of the pharma. So now when he goes to different doctors, he noticed something suspicious, something which is going, which is not right. And he felt that there are certain samples which has been delivered along with the free samples. Whenever a company, whenever the MNC, that is whenever a pharma company is releasing a drug out, the approved drug, I'm saying approved drug which has been developed. Okay, so if it is released, is to be released, they will give free samples to the doctors. That's the process. But here he noticed that something unusual is happening. Along with the free samples, he understood that there are certain samples which they are giving which is in the developing stage. Okay, So no, he went and he said this doubt. He discussed with some of his friend who is a scientist who used to conduct research about the medicines. Now he also tried. He also checked and he said that yeah, you are right. There is some unapproved drug which is in the developing stage is given delivered to the people. Okay, delivered to the doctors, and doctors are using it on the patients to check how they are reacting to the medicine and all. So now he started, after he this from his friend, he did not report to the management. He did not go to the higher authorities or the president of sales or someone who is the immediate authority over him. But what he did, he immediately started collecting more information related to this particular issue. Okay, and when he asking information, he come to know that yeah, this drug is mainly administered to the poor people or the uneducated people, because they are illiterate. They will not raise any questions because they themselves doesn't understand what is going on there. So this way they are used as a trial piece, right? And even sometimes they are informed. They're given very least amount of money. They are said that this is a new drug we have developed for this disease which you are facing. So you can try this, and for that we are also paying. You need not pay for your medical bill, we will do it, and we also pay some few money for you. But actually what happens after trial, that patient has to be compensated in a proper way. If there is certain complication after trying the drug, he should be compensated well, but that is not happening. Secondary, sometimes they are not even revealing that this drug is going to be tested on the patients. They simply lure through free medical camps, and when patient comes and with the free medicines, we are conducting free medical camps, and when patients come to them, they just try to give try this medicines with the patients of all ages. Okay, so this way these doctors are involving into trial, and he collected all this information. So now first question related to this case is, what Suresh do, what Suresh should do and why? Okay, so for that, the only option in this case is that you need not say that Suresh has to go to the management, he has to repeat to the immediate superior about after collecting all this information, he should go and produce this before them and then stop this kind of activity. So, this is completely depending on the intensity of the issue, depending on the issue, that what issue is going on. Anna, so if it is relating to death of the patient or severe problems associated with their health, no, this cannot be taken as a simple issue, and it's not simply reporting about one individual in a organization or in an industry. It is about the organization itself, because without the knowledge of the higher authorities, this is not going to happen. One thing. Second thing is that even though it is happening in such a way, it's totally illegal act which is happening there in the pharma college industries. So this should be reported to the concerned authority only. So what you have to say is that Suresh has collected, after collecting the information, he has should produce it to the concerned authority, and in that way, the concerned authority has to take the step further. So they have to take action. So for this comes a question: who is the concerned authority who is taking care of this clinical trials in India? And we all know that the Drug and Cosmetics Act 2005 is the act which is supporting, which is governing this clinical trials. Okay, clinical drug trials in India is governed the Drug and Cosmetics Act and the rules to 2005. Especially in the rules 2005 we included this. And there is a body called ICMR. We all know that Indian Council of Medical Research is there. Okay, so this ICMR also has come out with guidelines with respect to the uh, you know mm, how a person who is conducting a clinical drug trial has to document it in the clinical trials registry. There is some registry itself. It maintains, ICMR maintains a registry, the name of clinical trials registry. And here they have to record everything, right? That this particular drug has been tried, the clinical trials like this, you have to document it properly. So the who is the authority who is giving approval for this clinical drug trials in India? We all know the Drug Controller General of India, CGI, the Drug Controller General of India, who is the topmost authority in the Central Drug Standard Control Organization. He is responsible for approving the clinical trials. Okay, is the topmost authority for approving the clinical trials. So all this organization, that is DGCA, DCGA, as well as the CDSCO, both, is responsible to is answerable towards the Ministry of Health. So he is the topmost authority. If something goes wrong, the ministry will question. And apart from this, we already told that ICMR provides a guidelines. They bring out with a guideline, and based on this guideline, it is required that anyone who is undergoing a clinical drug trial has to make a registry in the has to document in the trials registry. So the ICMR also brings out other guidelines like relating to the ethical behavior of the doctors. Okay, the professionals, especially the doctor professions, the doctors and the scientists, how they have to behave. Especially the pharmaceutical scientists who are involved in developing new drugs, what ethical standards they have to follow or guidelines they have to follow. Apart from this, we are also having pharmacovigilance program, so of India. Mainly it will track the records or track reports of harm from the usage of drugs and all. So it will be keep tracking of those. The pharmacovigilance program will do that. Okay. Even after DCGI and CDSCO, every state has its own authority to govern this trials which is happening there, right? So in this way, we know these are the concerned authorities. So what you have to do after collecting proper information related to the cases, this information has to be submitted to the concerned authority to take action. Okay, so this you have to Suresh has to be ready to face every problems associated with revealing the information outside. He knows very well that this will completely end or degrade the name of the company itself. But the company is involving in such a thing, so it is definitely right to reveal this to the concerned authority and make them to take action against the culprit. Okay, so there is a question called why. Suresh will do this. Why he is doing this? Because here the company is involving in an illegal act, completely an illegal act and an unethical behavior, where the humans are treated as rats in the lab, right? So they don't have any respect for the human life, right? They don't have any they don't treat humans with dignity, with care, with love. So there is nothing like a doctor. Pharma industry is also equally responsible, and they should not involve in harming the patient. Okay, inflicting unknown harm. With acceptance, a patient comes to them, you have to compensate them. Okay, fine, I am ready to trial this drug because I am already affected by this disease. I want to get relieved from this. I am ready to try the drug, and then you give compensation also to him. So but here nothing is done like that. Completely it is hidden behind the veil, and people are simply lured to take the new medicines which is in development stage. So you have to say this is completely against a ethical act and against the professional ethics, because as a doctor as well as pharma, both are involved. No, as a doctor and pharmaceutical scientist, both should follow the principle of benevolence and non-maleficence. In that way you have to write the answer: beneficence and non-maleficence. Here it is not followed, and here what they did, the doctor as well as along with the scientist, both are trying to harm the patient. Especially the doctors are directly involved into it. So this has to be completely stopped, and action has to be taken against it. So it is not better to delay that, simply dragging the issue, going and talking to the management, then settling this issue will not do. But what the company will do, because it is investing in a huge amount and huge money into the business, and is seeing this as a business only. In that case, if you go and report to the management, what will happen? They will definitely avoid you, or then they will cause threat to you also. Your life and job, everything will be in threat. So that you reveal this to the competent authority in such a way that ethics is served, right? So do you believe, come to the next question. This is first question related to the case study. Second question, do you believe that employees of a company have an ethical obligation to first attempt to report wrongdoing to members of the company itself, or should they go straight to the authorities when they suspect illegal activity? This is a question. What are the advantages and disadvantages of both actions? Here you can make a table. You can draw a table like maybe there is a space, something for us to discuss. No. Okay, fine. Wherever there's space, we'll utilize it. You can see this in this case, what you can do is that you can draw a table, and the second option, so you can draw a table like this. You can put you know, options, advantages and disadvantages. The first option, what they have said, internal whistleblowing. If you know the word, you can use internal whistleblowing. Okay, that means reporting the case to the management, topmost superior authorities of the organization, internal whistleblowing. Second, you can say in the case of external whistleblowing, that is taking it outside of the organization and revealing it outside to the concerned authorities. That is external whistleblowing. So come to the case, it's saying what the question is asked. Do you believe employees of a company, they have not asked this company or this pharma company, employees of a company have an ethical obligation to first attempt to report wrongdoing to the members of the company itself, or they should go straight to the authority if they are suspecting any illegal activity? Okay, so in that case, we can say that the internal whistleblowing, generally in any organization, you know, you have to first begin this question not with the table, but you have to say in a statement, yes, it's always right that the individual, if he notice something illegal activity is going on, he has to do internal whistleblowing. He has to first report this to the superior, or the topmost management or the board. He has to reveal this information to them, okay, in such a way that the actions will be taken by the organization itself without the involvement of the other authorities. So the organization will try to solve the issue. But when you will try to do internal whistleblowing, only to certain small issues when it raises, like for example, sexual harassment cases. Instead of simply going and filing a complaint, first you can make the management or organization, you can see they are trying to solve this issue, how they try to tackle the problem. So that's something we can prefer for internal whistleblowing. Or suppose some theft has occurred, somebody is looting some money, some horse trading has happened. Okay, so this, in this case, that you can do for internal whistleblowing. But here the issue is related to the issue is concerned with the entire society. Completely the society is getting affected because of the insensible actions committed by the company. So in this case, you have to prefer external whistleblowing. You are preferring external whistleblowing, right? So this case, for this case, and any case, when you are mentioning, you have to say internal whistleblowing is good. So when you have to write the statement like this, yes, it is generally preferable to do internal whistleblowing, but the case has to be less sensitive, or the impact has to be less in the society rather than on the organization. But external whistleblowing has to be definitely done to those issues which is concerned with the community at stake, right? So for that, generally we prefer external whistleblowing only, right? Then and mostly if the higher management is also involved, in that cases we are only preferring the external whistleblowing. So you are going to see the positives and negatives of both. Suppose you are doing internal whistleblowing, that is you are blowing the whistle, alerting the organization's superior authorities, or the board, or the management. Then what will be the positive? Now the positive will be that they will try to rectify the problem, and they will also appreciate, because you are the person who has already alerted them on the issue which is happening in the organization. So definitely they will try to avoid this in the near future, They will not involve in any wrongdoing, they themselves. And also they will keep in check. They will tighten the measures in the, the policy measures, everything, in order to make the employees to not involve in such kind of activity in the future. These will be the positive. Right. Negatives on the other sense is that if suppose the issue is happening with the knowledge of the management, then what they will do, they will definitely try to create threat towards your job, to your life. Okay, all these will be some of the negative things which will be happening due to internal whistleblowing. Right, they will try to remove you from or corner you, remove from the job, or corner you in the office, or threaten you with your life, with the any other family members. Okay, so this way there can be a lot of issues related to internal whistleblowing. But external whistleblowing, when suppose you are making the or revealing the information to the outside agencies, what may be the positive things? Action is definite. Okay, definitely they are going to take an action against the act committed by the company itself. Completely the external whistleblowing mainly we do when the company itself is involved in an illegal activity. So they will definitely take action. Okay, the culprit will be punished and your conscience will be completely clear. There, in that case, it's not the above case, it's not the way. So here you definitely know that you're confident enough, your confidence is boosted since you know that the culprit is going to get punished. At the same time, you are not it's not necessary you work in the office. So the negative things is that at most they are going to remove you from the office. Okay, remove you from your job, so you cannot further travel along with the organization. It's better that you move forward. So this can be a negligible negatives which you faces in case of whistleblowing, right? So next, this is the first question we sorry, second question we have discussed related to the case. Come to the third question. Do you believe whistleblowing is good for organization and its members? So they're asking that whether whistleblowing is good, okay, for the organizations as well as members. In that case, I can bring that first you have to start with this. So what is whistleblowing? You have to start with that. Whistleblowing means it occurs when someone discloses the information about certain things which is happening in the any illegal activities which is happening in the workplace. Okay, so somebody who is trying to disclose that information to the management, higher management, or to the outside world. So this could also relate to certain unlawful activities also, or even failure to comply with the standards, any rules, regulations, any tax laws, okay, anything, or even the inability of the company to ensure the safety of the people who are working inside the company. There is no proper safety measures, safety gears. Okay, so when you notice all these things, and so it's mandatory from the company to do so, and if the company does not does it, then that is then you can blow the whistle, है. So by blowing this whistle, you are trying to protect the workplace as well as the members who are working in it, the other individuals who are working in that. In that way, we are trying to maintain the highest standards of organizational culture in workplace. Workplace is there, no? So workplace, organizational culture in workplace will be maintained. Okay. Now, see this. What are the advantages? We have said the advantages related to the whistleblowing. So it prevents the wrongdoing. So once when the management or when the organization is alerted that somebody is there to blow the whistle, and we should not repeat this fault or this issue again and again. Okay, we have overlooked safety measures. Hereafter, we are not going to do it. For us, our employee safety is very important, so we are trying to rectify the problem which has been committed, so that this may be the positive way a company can turn into. So that's why we added it in the advantages part. That means if a company which is nurturing a strong reporting culture, that's the main thing. Nurturing a strong reporting culture. If they appreciate the people bringing the issues to the forefront, and which helps them to move forward, helps them to rectify the problem and move forward, and that that type of atmosphere, that type of company will definitely appreciate the people who try to report the fault which is occur in the company. In that cases, it will try to prevent that fault to not occur in the future. Okay, so it should not happen in the future. So it will try to rectify the problem and keep check. So that's what we said in the first point. That is, it prevents wrongdoing. Second is it will help this whistleblowing will help minimize cost and risk involved, because if the misconduct continues for a longer time, you say some auditor who is there inside the company, who is handling the accounts, he's trying to manipulate few sums, few amount of money. Over the period, if it will become his habit, if one time nobody notices, two time nobody notices, then he will try to continue this as a habit, and will keep on, he will loot lump sum of money from the company. So it will affect the company's performance, right? And stability will be affected. So it will turn to be costly and create risk to the company, right? So this can be avoided when you are noticing in the initial stage only and not helping him in looting the money. You have to report it to the management that something is happening in this manner, so it can be checked there only. So this will try to minimize the cost and risk also. Again, it will also improve the trust and internal communication. It will improve the trust. Why? Because whistleblowing is something which is a tool which is acting like a tool of transparency. That that somebody is blowing a whistle and disclosing some wrongdoing inside the company to everyone, and everyone comes to know about it. The management comes to know about it. So now what happens? The employees started trusting the company, because if the management allows this to happen, if the company allows this to happen, organization is supporting this, and then what happens? They will try to trust the management. Okay, so if something wrong happens to me in the future, then definitely what happens? They will they will give ears. They will definitely hear my problem. They will solve the issue. So this way, they will the trust can be builded, and it can also improve the communication between the people and the employee and the employer. Okay, so that way the trust will be established between them, right? And what are the advantages it is giving to the individual? We all know that this whistleblowing will definitely result in emotional distress to people, emotional trauma, depression. They will undergo all these things because they are going to report against their fellow people. Previously they would have chatted with them, eaten with them, so they would have walked with them, but now they are going to speak against them for their careless act. So now this will make the relationships suffer in the workplaces. Even in the future, many of them will avoid this person. One who is going to try to report it, he will not be appreciated by others except few. So they may think, okay, in future he may also act against me. Okay, so this way that it will affect the complete workplace relationships, and it will also make him undergo a lot of traumatic incidents, because the whistleblowing involves a complex procedures. Okay, this way uh, that these are some of the loopholes, I can say. These are some of the problems you will be facing as an individual when you are involving in whistleblowing. But at the same time, what happens? It gives confidence to the employees. Once when it is out and the management takes action against this, then it will boost up the confidence in the employees, and that they are not loyal or committed to the wrong organization. Okay, because they are committed to the organization which is respecting the people's values, which is respecting, which is not going in the illegal path. Okay, so in this way they get a like confidence related to the loyalty they have towards the company. And it also will increase, as we know, increases the trust and keep the employees in alert position always. And also it will give him a warning that tomorrow you should not commit such a mistake, so same action will be taken against you. So this way that it will reduces the individual misconduct also. And as an individual, as a victimized side, as a perpetuator side, if he takes, then that means he is alarmed or he is warned that future he also should not involve in such a incident. From the victimized side, if we take, then that means he feels that the working environment is very safe. Okay, it's like a friendly atmosphere and everybody cares for the person, individual who is working in the organization. So these are some of the advantages you get due to whistleblowing, right? Then come to the next question. See the last question of this case. They have asked, can you discuss about the loopholes, it's lacuna in whistleblower protection in India? They did not ask about any company, specific company or this company. But generally, what are the loopholes in the whistleblower protection we are facing in India? Okay, that's a question. For that, how will you answer? Yes. So the main problem with related to whistleblowing in India is, as you can see that generally the companies which are listed, what is meant by listed companies. The public company will be listed. Okay, so these listed companies have to frame a whistleblowing policy. So that's mandatory and it is taken care of SEBI. Security and Exchange Board of India is the organization which manages all these things. So they have to definitely form a whistleblowing policy. Okay, and this we know. Also, the major loophole is that, the major loophole in this is that there is no proper procedures, there is no proper guidelines that what type of whistleblower policy a company has to follow or has to frame. Okay, so they have simply said that it is mandatory that you have to frame a whistleblower policy to provide protection to the whistleblowers. That's it. But there is no proper guidelines on which how this policy or whistleblower protection has to be given. One thing, that's the major loophole. Second thing is that there is no mandatory requirement for a private company, okay, or an unlisted company. Note that for a private company and only the listed companies will do it as per regulations, okay, which is given out by the SEBI. They will frame a whistleblowing policy for protection of whistleblowers. But on the other companies, like a private company you take or an unlisted company, there is no mandatory at all that they should adopt a whistleblower policy. Okay, so this is another loophole to protect the whistleblowers. And if suppose certain private company is doing certain sin or certain illegal act, or some illegal act is happening within the organization, we know when business ethics is learned, you will be studying this within an organization and the system in which the organization operate. So the ethical problems related to both. Sometimes within the organization also can happen, or the organization with the environment, with the society can also happen. So in both the cases, there is no protection for the whistleblower who is blowing the whistle. So in case of private companies, other unlisted company, so this has to be rectified because mostly they are mostly out of their own concern, out of their own interest. The large multinational companies, MNCs, are trying to adopt a whistleblower policy. Okay, but it is voluntary. There is no compulsory. So that has to be checked. Then that is a major loophole. And even we know that the legislations, regulations are there. Whistleblower Protection Act is there, 2014, which has been formed. But how you are going to investigate the complaint? There is no proper procedures which has been mentioned. Okay, steps or guidelines how the manner of investigation has to take place in case of whistleblower complaints. Okay, that is very much unclear, I can say, right? And even that's why we said the process or procedure for conducting internal investigation into the whistleblower complaints. Internal investigation is also lacking, and when a whistleblower is trying to complain, the steps has to be taken further. That is also lagging. They don't know the proper procedure to follow. Second, next important loophole which you can mention is that, as we know that whistleblower mainly try to remain anonymous. Okay, so the policy of anonymity has to be inducted inside the whistleblower policy when a company is trying to frame a whistleblower policy. Even the listed company, even the listed company which is mandatory for them to form a whistleblower policy, they doesn't have this clause of principle of anonymity is not adopted. So this has to be bring in the future. This has to be given attention, because when a whistleblower is blowing a whistle, nobody wants to show their face or show, oh, only me has revealed this outside. Huh? Who am I? Like that, nobody is ready to show no in front of the society. They like to be like to remain behind the screen, because they have their own family members. They have their they want a job in the other company if they are moving. So they like to remain anonymous in nature. So that has to be respected. And these are some of the regulations we know. As I already told, the regulations and legislations are laudable, but there is no proper procedures or proper clauses just saying that how the complaints has to be inquired, and how the rules and regulations are complied by, what procedures we are following for that. Even the Companies Act you take 2013, so it is talking about a lot of inquiry, lot of policies which has to be created. Okay, a company has to create in order to protect the whistleblower, but there is no proper steps to be followed in inspection and inquiry to be taken with respect to the complaint made by the whistleblowers. And the SEBI's also, SEBI, the Security Exchange Board of India, which is trying to bring in whistleblower protection legislation. It also says that whistleblower policy is a must or mandatory for a listed company. And what happens? The company forms it. The company makes a policy. It has to itself. It doesn't even reveal that to the public. So that's another loophole. So the people who are working inside should come to know that, oh, the company is having so and so whistleblower policy. So if something wrong happens, I can just go and approach and I can reveal this outside, so that it can be protected. This way, awareness has to be generated. Okay. And also in 2019, SEBI has introduced a new reward mechanism. So it's a laudable as a kind of inducements to informant to report a violation of insider trading laws to SEBI. If they report this to the SEBI, then they will reward them, the informants, the one who brings the information. Okay. So these are the other one, the Whistleblower Protection Act. Here also a lot of problems which are uh, has to be addressed. The Act is mainly formed to provide additional safeguard against the victimization of whistleblowers only. But what happens properly? There is no guidelines how the victims will be protected. And we also said no, the class of anonymity itself is missing. And also you can see this. This is the class of anonymity. Okay, so that's it. So that's a major problem which is related to Whistleblower Protection Act. Although we are saying we are safeguarding the whistleblower, but the clause of anonymity in the practical sense is not operating in the proper way, right? So see this, the legislations punishing the officers who reveal the identity of a whistleblower. Suppose the whistleblower's identity is revealed, there is no such provisions to look after the punishment once when the person try to harm the whistleblower physically, right? So suppose his anonymity is revealed, there is no proper provision to punish those officers who reveal the identity. There is no proper provision to punish those people who are involved in physically abusing the informer, this whistleblower. So the term victimization is used in the act, but there is a lack of penalty with regard to the same. So they say the victims of the whistleblowing, and if they are victimized, then there should be some penalty they have has to be paid to these people. But there is nothing like that. The act does not describe anything related to that. So this is a major problem associated with whistleblowers act and policies which is there in India, right? So this question is over. This there is a mixture of pattern, right? Sometimes in UPSC they are asking, they are connecting a issue, they are bringing a issue, they are asking, they are asking you a question that how will you solve it, and what are the problems, how the long term measures you are going to suggest, or the positives and negatives, like this we have asked. No, these two questions are associated with the case. But you come to this particular two questions, which is trying to talk about whistleblowing and the whistleblowers protection in India, the problems really associated with it. Sometimes in the case study itself, you will face these kind of questions. Okay. So connecting with your theory part, they will ask a question. So in this way, we have framed this question case for you. Right now, we'll move to the next case. Let's read the case, try to solve it if the time permits. If not, we will carry forward to the next session also. Although this is a question, although it may seem fairly obvious that receiving praise and recognition from one's company is a motivating experience, sadly, many companies are failing miserably when it comes to saying thanks to their employees. Employee recognition programs, which is becoming more popular now as the country's economy shifted from industrial to knowledge based, can be an effective way to motivate employees and make them feel valued. But in most of the organization, including public sector employee recognition program, is likely an empty gesture rather than a motivator. Even programs that provide employees with more expensive rewards without sincerity can backfire. Such experiences resonates with the employee who may find more value in a sincere pat on the back than in gifts from the management that are either meaningless or aren't conveyed with respect to sincerity. With respect or sincerity. These are some of the questions. Do you think that emotional maturity should be reflected in the behavioral patterns exhibited by the managers while dealing with the inner self and the immediate environment? And how? What emotional sensitivity do you think that managers might seek to evolve in their personality? And number three, if praising employees for doing a good job seems to be fairly easy and obvious motivational tool, as a manager, what steps would you take to motivate your employees to perform well? So there is a mixture here, again this question also, mixture of theory part a bit and addressing the issue related to the organization. Okay, so which is given in the case. In that case, how will you solve this question? Come back. This question is generally giving an idea about the failure of emotional play in the companies. Okay, so companies always focus on knowledge and the skills, and they fail to address the very important skill, that is managing the emotions of the workforce. So that it is a discussion about that only. So how they fail in motivating the employee, how they fail to sincerely appreciate the effort put out by the employees, the performance they give. Okay, so when they are faced with the problems like this, they're definitely going to uh, you know uh, not dedicate or commit themselves in the with the organizational goal. So here the first question demands, do you think that the emotional maturity should be reflected in the behavioral patterns exhibited by the managers while dealing with the inner self and the immediate environment, and how? That was a question. So first you should, how you would start an answer for this question? You have to start with defining emotional maturity. Then you have to give answer for the question which they are asking to you, right? So what you will say in case of emotional maturity? So emotional maturity means it's a term which is describing that discussing about having a self control to how will you manage your emotions. You're trying how well you will be able to manage your emotions, that is how well you will be able to understand your emotion and you will be able to manage or control them. That is emotional maturity. So if you are an emotionally mature person, then you never see emotion as a weakness in you. Instead you will try to utilize it and try to control it wherever necessary. You utilize it, and wherever it is unnecessary, you will try to control it. So that is emotionally matured person. Now come to the question. So do you think that emotional maturity should be reflected in the behavioral pattern exhibited by the managers while dealing with the inner self and the immediate environment? Then you have to say yes, definitely. Emotional maturity is a need of the heart that now every organization, starting from public to private, expecting the team leaders and the managers to exhibit emotional intelligence and emotional maturity in their approaches. So that way you have to start the answer. So how they are going to do this, how they can behave like an emotionally matured person? For that you can use these topics, like first, to be self-aware. They have to know about themselves. They have to know about the emotions they carry. Anna, so what are the emotions they are facing in their life? If suppose something happens, how their body is reacting to it, how their mind is reacting to it. This has to be understood from their own perspective. Then only they will be able to control emotion which comes out of them. At the same time, they can also try to help others, by controlling controlling the emotions of the team. Right, so you can put the emotions to work at a better way, right? I can say like that. So that's for self-awareness is the first important thing which you can say, that as an emotionally matured person, he has to be self-aware or emotionally self-aware. That will be a better word to use. That way you can say, right? So it will help to handle the relationships, the interpersonal relationship will be handled in a better way, and this will maintain the cooperation among the team and coordination among the team. In this way you can say. And also developing others, this is another term which we can use. So how will you going to help other people, right? Aware about their own self, about their weakness, and the way you can involve them in the project, in the work. Okay, so this only can be done with those managers, means the superiors, the supervisors, are the team leaders who is having emotional maturity in their life. So trying to note the strength and weaknesses of the person who is in the team, and then make him or employ him in such a way that the best of him can be utilized. Okay, so this will be only seen in emotionally mature person. Even the delaying gratification we have mentioned, that is, suppose some issue has happened, instead of reacting immediately on the spot, you are deciding for the particular problem which has been arisen. You cannot do, we are all human beings, we cannot judge immediately. The moment we see that, we cannot come out with the some you know sorry, we cannot simply make a impartial judgments. Definitely, if you're going to react immediately, there will be certain anger associated with that. Even it can be a personal anger. If two people are involved in certain conflict, you may side with one person because you already don't you are not in good terms with the other one. Although although what he has done is right or wrong, that at that time your eyes are clouded completely. So anger, definitely. And then also, for that this reason only, we are saying that you have to take certain break. You have to say that let us wait for few more time hours, or after few more days we can conclude this about this. So you are trying to bring a delay in that, in such a way that this will try to reduce that intensity of the problem, and bring in a laudable solution also, I can say. Okay, then adaptability, and this is foremost character of a emotionally mature person: adaptability and flexibility, whatever which is happening to them. So any changes which is happening in the structure of the organization, even in the the working environment, anywhere some changes is going to happen. So this person who's completely emotionally matured is well adaptable and flexible to the changing environment, and he accepts it with smile. Right. Otherwise, Otherwise, what happens? The person will become aggressive, and he becomes very slow, passive, and even try to withdraw from his contributions or commitments. Okay, so in that way, they will try to react if some such changes is going to take place. But here, only the emotionally mature person can be very much adaptable and flexible to the environment. So these are some of the characters which we can note in the emotionally matured person. Then come to the for how only we have answered. Previously for the previous question you have said in one statement, we have said yes and I have explained. And for how we have explained now. Come to the second question. What emotional sensitivity do you think that managers might seek to evolve in their personality? What emotional sensitivity do you think that managers might seek to evolve in their personality, right? So now we have to talk about emotional sensitivity. So what is emotional sensitivity? Mostly this emotional sensitivity is viewed as a negative concept only, because emotional sensitivity means we are experiencing emotions more stronger, more intensely than others. That is emotional sensitivity. Emotionally sensitive person will have stronger experiences of love, joy, happiness, anything we are mentioning, any type of emotions will be very stronger in them. Hai. So they are called as emotionally sensitive persons. Always we consider this in a wronger pace, but one you can be emotionally sensitive, but you should not be an emotional unmanageable, uncontrollable emotion should not be there with you. So once you know that, even you have to be very much sensitive to your emotions, you should understand, okay, this is happening in within me, and I am facing this kind of emotion. If you're highly emotionally sensitive only, you will be able to do it in a faster pace. But how well you manage emotions, that then only it makes you successful. Okay, so the question is asked, what emotional sensitivity do you think that managers seek to evolve in their personality? In that case, you can use all these points like, understanding of emotional arousal in the body. If it is very low, the intensity is very low, then you will not be able to understand what is happening within you, what type of feeling you are having, what type of emotions is aroused inside you. So when it is stronger, then it will be easier for you to predict the feelings related associated with that emotions, and how these emotions are triggered. Okay, in this way you will be able to understand about it better. Secondary thing is that empathy. Empathy is another way that you will become an emotionally sensitive person. So if the empathy means what, putting yourselves in other person place and feel that, no? So you are trying to accept and share the other person's feeling. All these are called as empathy only. And if that's the case, that emotionally sensitive persons will be highly empathetic in nature. They can, how well they can aware about their own feeling, they will also equally aware about the other people's emotions and feelings. So that's, we say, empathetic. Improving the interpersonal relationships, and this will improve the interpersonal relationship, because once when you know about your emotions in a proper way, you'll be able to manage it and control it also. So in that cases, and you are able to identify the emotion of other person also easily when you're emotionally sensitive. So this will bring a bondage in the personal relationships at workplace as well as in the home, the private life also. Then communicability emotions will definitely happen after that. And we know that, as if you're high emotionally sensitive person, you're a cheerful person. Let's take like that, and this will completely spread throughout the workplace, the working atmosphere. So everybody will be facing the same happiness, positive mentality, attitude. But if on the other hand, if you're communicating a negative feeling to the people, then definitely the entire atmosphere will turn in a pessimistic manner. Okay, so this way we can say that these are some ways that the emotional sensitivity can try to be evolved into the personality of the people. Third, if you see, if praising employees for doing a good job, seems to be fairly easy and obvious motivational tool. As a manager, what steps would you take to motivate your employees to perform well? Okay, so what are the steps you can take to motivate them? That is the question, simple question. You can write any steps you can write. Recognizing the individual differences I have given. That is first you have to identify that this person is put up for this work only. Okay, so based on the capability, you are assigning the roles, assigning the job. So you have to recognize that. Instead of simply scolding the person, you are fit for, you're not fit for this company, not fit for this job. You can just change the role. For that, you have to first identify how he is, what is his strength. So then you will know to able to recognize difference, uniqueness, and then you can post him in such a way. Same way, autonomy has to be given to the employees. Always you should not come under pressure, and you should not give daily targets. Reach this quickly. Next. This will never work out. So there should be some autonomy in his hand, so that he can decide and move forward in his own path. Okay, the ultimate aim should be, the ultimate goal, it should be improving the profit or raising the profit for the company, but there should be some space given to him to decide in order to achieve that. Even feedback, generally feedback will improve, will make many people happy, that when they receive feedback about their actions, about their performance, it will make them help them to improve again in the future, the coming future. So feedback is a very good mechanisms to motivate the employees. Job rotation, instead of saying the same boring job, okay, every routine job, you can just give the same level skill set. Jobs can be exchanged with the people, the group rotations can be done. Job enrichments, instead of giving a single task, you can make him do the entire thing, like planning, implementing, evaluating. All this can be given to one person, so that he will be feeling more responsible in nature, and he gets motivated to do the job. Flexible time to work, that is very important. So instead of forcing an employee that you have to be here in this time and get out only during this time, like a school bell when it rings, you can give a flexible time, and you can set a target, that within this period you have to complete it. What you will do, how will you do, I don't care. You can do it anytime. Okay, but you have to commit. When you come to office, you can also go out, you can take a break in the cafe, but ultimately, I require this to be done. Then participative management and representative participation, that is important. So instead of the management making a decision for the employees can be involved in that decision making, and even representative, instead of completely employee team. If there are some thousand workers, everybody cannot sit and make a decision. So a representative group on behalf of the employees can sit along with the management to make a decision. Okay, so this will give confidence to the employees, make them a responsible person, and motivate them. And even variable pay programs, also like merit based pay, piece rate pay, like how much output you are delivering, that much amount you will be given as an incentive. Or bonus can be given, profit sharings can be done. Even some intrinsic reward schemes can be there, like employee recognition programs. Every year they will recognize an employee of that company. Award will be given. Or every month, the topmost salesperson or topmost person who comes punctually, this way they were given badges, no, in the company. So this may motivate the employer or worker to even the check the system with equity. So you have to be very careful that all the employee who is in the same skill set have been paid in the equal manner, have been treated in the equal manner, have been given the same incentives, same. So this may make them feel relieved that they are all in par with on par with everyone, and they will be motivated to work for the company, right? So this way we are ending the cases here. So we'll end here. We'll meet in another session.